I'm Jeremy Petrosini, live from Gallup campus in Omaha, Nebraska, and this is our call to coach with special guest Brent O'Bannon. Jim Collison, our regular producer, is off-site today, but behind the scenes. So we are excited for the call we have in front of us. Call to Coach is a resource for those who want to help others discover and use their strengths. We have Gallup experts and independent strengths coaches share tactics, insights, and strategies to help coaches maximize the talent of individuals, teams, and organizations around the world. If you have questions, comments, contributions during the show, we have a live chat room available right below the video link, or you can listen to the recorded version. Email them to us at those questions at coaching@gallup.com, and don't forget to visit www.gallupstrengthscenter.com, which we recently just relaunched for all your coaching resources and training needs. If you want to catch the video in both streaming and downloadable audio for offline listening to past shows, you can catch that over at coaching.gallup.com. So I'm Jeremy Petrosini, and I am our host today. I'm a learning development consultant here at Gallup on the riverfront. Just came off the heels of leading a training with 30 individual coaches from Japan. So they are actually just wrapping up downstairs right now, but exciting to be part of what we're doing. And Brent, I'm excited to have you on the show, so thanks for being here.
Well, howdy from Austin, Texas today. Thanks for asking.
Yeah, you bet. And some of you may know, if you've been listening to the show for some time, we've now had these live calls for over 6 months. Brent was our very first guest, kind of pilot launch. We thought maybe we'd have 50 to 100 listeners, ended up with 1,200, and it was audio only. So, Brent, I'm glad to have you back. Video, people can actually see that you're a real live person and hear a little bit more about your story and your success as a coach.
Well, first of all, I know many of you as coaches, you always like to know what are people's top 5 signature themes, and so I'll quickly say mine.
Great.
Number 1 is focus, and number 2 is individualization, number 3 is achiever, number 4 is command, and number 5 is competition. And what I like to do is also kind of synthesize those, because we know there's a lot of theme dynamics that play together. So what I call my strengths mission mantra is this: I'm purposefully on target and a perceptive strength spotter. I produce a power supply of clear, courageous leadership and enjoy the thrill of daring greatly. And so that's what I encourage a lot of my clients to do, is understand what their theme dynamics are and create that leadership brand. And I think many coaches need to be able to do that for themselves, which is what I love coaching coaches.
Yeah, Brent, tell the audience a little bit, just your background, how long you've been coaching. I know you mentioned coaching coaches, but for years you've been coaching individuals as well. So give us a little bit more about your background, and again, how you feel like you were called to coach. So you came across StrengthsFinder, but what was it that you just felt like, this is what I was made to do?
You know, we all have a story, right? And I'm going to share just a little quick snippet. When I was 17 years old is when I felt called to inspire people. And so I got very involved in my local faith group. And from there, I went on and got my master's degree in counseling psychology and opened up a private practice as a licensed professional counselor. And you know, we really brought so many new clients in, and we helped so many people that, you know, I partnered with another professional counselor. We had a multi-specialty group practice, and during that time, I invited a mastermind group to form, and this mastermind group was a way to grow our businesses. And what happened is I was introduced to StrengthsFinder from a coach, a business coach. And so his name is Steve. And so Steve one day visited our mastermind group, and as he was talking with us, he said, you know, we had a spa owner in there, we had a writer in there, a chiropractor in there, you know, a counselor in there. And Steve looked at us and he says, guys and team, he said, all of you need to focus on your strengths and let go of focusing on your weaknesses. And he even challenged us not only to go to the StrengthsFinder and actually discover your strengths at that point, and to take the assessment, but he challenged us to let go of anything in our business that was weakness related. And even clients, So he challenged us, and I have to say I was very skeptical. Uh, I was one of these kind of people that comes from the psychology background. I'd been trained in a lot of different psychological testing instruments, so I was like, yeah, StrengthsFinder. Well, one of my buddies came back and had taken the StrengthsFinder. We came back to the next mastermind, and he was so excited. I mean, it just revolutionized his business, and he was in the technology business, and I didn't want to be left behind. Honestly, my competition is like, I don't want to be left behind. And so I went and took the StrengthsFinder, and then, just like many of you listening on this call, it so resonated with me, and it gave me a language to label my talent themes. And the rest is history. Strengths became my niche, and obviously Gallup has been a wonderful partner to learn and grow from, and I'm excited to be a part of that vision to bring StrengthsFinder to 1 billion people, and I believe it's possible.
Yeah, and we say that all the time, Brent. You've heard that, and many of the listeners have heard it. But really, our mission at Gallup, again, Don Clifton, when he developed the Clifton Strength Finder, he kind of dreamt, one day would we help 1 million people discover their strengths, figure out what they're on this earth to do, and we're just about at 10 million, which is awesome.
It's amazing.
And our goal is to get to 1 billion. And so, obviously, to do that, we believe that strength coaches like yourself are going to help us do that. How many people would you estimate that you've coached over the years?
Some
I know you
people
get asked
say
this question a lot, but
some people say that I kind of inflate my numbers, and if my wife is here, she would really say, Brent, are you exaggerating, or are you telling the truth?
Right.
And I have to admit, I figured up one day after I had read the book talking about the 10,000 hour rule, and I figured up how many people I had seen weekly over a period of years, and I have seen now over 27,000, not necessarily different clients, but over 27,000 sessions in counseling and coaching with people.
Yeah. And again, I have you share that. I know you're a guy who's not wired to walk around kind of bragging on yourself, but there's a lot of coaches out there I know are brand new at this. Some of them, again, using StrengthsFinder within their organization, but many like yourself that are saying for years, whether it's your background in counseling, you're in the business of helping people personally and professionally, and strengths became a way to do that. And again, there's just this natural excitement that I think when people discover really who they are, their talents, I think that's where it gets exciting. I want you to talk a little bit, and I appreciate that you shared your 5. I want to talk a little bit. Oftentimes when we look at people's themes, so their StrengthsFinder themes, we'll put them into these 4 domains, which I know you're very familiar with. So for you, you've got focus, achiever, command, competition, individualization, but obviously looking beyond that, looking at your top 10 or top 12, I know you've shared with me that from those domains pieces of, are you more executing or relationship building or strategic thinking, influencing, that bucket of influencing is really where you found your strength. So talk a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sometimes I want to be a little, I don't know how to say it, almost apologetic, for who I am. But
and while you're talking, Brent, I'm popping up on the screen those 4 domains so people can kind of follow along if they're not familiar.
Yeah, so people, if they can understand, I have in my top 10, I have 2 in executing, and I have 0. No, actually, I have 1, futuristic and strategic thinking, and relationship building. I have 2, and I have 7 in influencing. And so it's how I'm hardwired. I just can't help. That's who I am. And one of the ways that I like to help people understand these 4 domains of leadership is a couple years ago, my wife and I went to Banff in Canada, and we love adventure, we love traveling, and we went dog sledding for the very first time. And as we were getting ready to drive our dog sled, Jeremy, who is the dog whisperer for this particular company, said, Brent, would you like to understand the team? And I said, oh, I'd love to understand the team. And I'm always looking for a story, right?
Yeah.
And so Jeremy takes my wife and I, and he says, Brent, there are 4 pairs of dogs that pull the sled.
And I'm popping up, I don't know if you can see it, Brent, I'm popping up that photo you sent of you and your wife. Looks like, well, almost like postcard style. I don't know if that became your Christmas card that year or not, but yeah.
Yes, and yeah, that's Rhonda. So I'm frequently saying, help me, Rhonda, in my business and everything else. And so, yeah, he takes us to the very first 2 dogs. There's 4 pairs of dogs. And he said, Brent, the first 2 dogs are what we call the lead dogs. And he said, what's very interesting is you need to know the names of your lead dogs. You need to build a good relationship. So we knelt down and we let the dogs lick us and kind of get comfortable with us. And he says, it's interesting to know the lead dogs are not the smartest. They're not the fastest. He said, but they're the best listeners. They listen to the commands of the driver, and the rest of the team respects them, and they help get to the destination. And of course, I immediately thought of executing leadership domain. And that's all about working harder. And then he took us to the next 2 dogs. And he said, these 2 dogs, the pair is called the point dogs. And he said, literally, the point dogs are influencing, or at least kind of pointing the lead dogs to the future of the destination where the sled is going. It's almost like the lead dogs need this little extra push. And I thought of the strategic strengths. And I actually have a picture here of, these are actual dogs that were on the trip, by the way, on our sled. And if you'll notice on the very first dog, the lead dog, how his ears are erect, and he looks very strong, very confident, which you see many times with people who are in the executing domain, almost intimidating sometimes. But if you look at the strategic dog here, I purposely showed this picture because it's almost like this dog is looking backwards. And so it makes me think of context. And, you know, the strategic thinking domain is all about thinking smarter, helping us to be smarter. And then he took us to the 3rd pair of dogs. And these are called the swing dogs. And if you can see the picture, do we still have that PowerPoint?
And I don't know.
Up?
Yeah, I know there's a little bit in chat. I don't know if the picture's up or not. It might still be just.
Maybe we can show it in a moment if we don't have it yet.
You can impersonate the dogs.
There's one more. Yeah, there we go. There we go.
There we go. Now it's up. Yep.
So you've got the executing, which is the lead dogs, which is all about working harder. You have the strategic, which is the point dogs, which is all about thinking smarter. And then you have the swing dogs, which is the influencing domain of leadership. And they're all about growing bigger, I believe. But what he said about the swing dogs, he said they actually take a younger and an older dog. And, you know, the older dog has been up and down the mountain many rides, and has kind of lost the enthusiasm. And then they take a younger dog who doesn't have much wisdom and experience yet, but has all this enthusiasm. They pair them together, they harness them together to really influence each other to get the best results out of them. And he also told me that the swing dogs are the most important pair to help the sled navigate around sharp turns. So I obviously thought about influencing leaders and how they like to grow things bigger. And then finally, he took us to the very last 2 dogs, which are called the wheel dogs. And he said, Brent, these 2 dogs are the biggest hearted dogs, and all they want to do is pull the sled because they love the team and they love the driver. And why not? That is exactly what the relationship building strengths are all about, is about how to love deeper. And if you look at these 2 pictures, you can see that the wheel dog is just so, you know, approachable, so empathetic, so kind, and the influencing dog has the mouth open, right, and likes to talk and likes to influence.
Looking for that bone. Yep.
That's right. That's right. So anyway, I think this is a memorable way of remembering the 4 leadership domains and how each of the 34 talent themes go under these domains.
No, I love the imagery. And Jim, I don't know if you can get my slide pop back up or not, but if not, I know Mara in chat put a link there where you can see a link to the Gallup website where you see the 4 domains, and the Gallup Strength Center site has those as well. But what often happens is somebody takes StrengthsFinder, they do exactly what you did, Brent, where they look at, especially if they look beyond their top 5, and they say, wow, I'm all influencing but no executing. What does that mean? And oftentimes the issue we run into, and I know you experience this in your coaching with leaders, CEOs, others, is they naturally think, I need to get better at wherever I'm not strong, right? I need to get better at relationship building. I need to get better at executing. And it'd be like one of those dogs saying, I need to do the work of all 4 of these. But the research, and we talk about this in our book, Strength-Based Leadership. I see 2.0 over your shoulder, by the way, which nice little plug there. By the way, it was a best-selling book on Amazon.com, not just business book, but best-selling book of the year on Amazon.com, which is pretty fun to just think about the number of people learning their strengths. But the cool thing with these domains is it should bring freedom to the leader to say, I don't have to be all of these. Great CEOs, great team leaders figure out where they're strong and then bring other people on the team who in those other areas. And again, there's not a Fortune 500 company in the world. Many of them started with one person in a garage or a dorm room, but they're no longer that. And I think that's the thing that's exciting, is figure out where you're at your best. Don't let these domains grid be what am I not strong at. So
I love that, Jeremy, and I also see that a lot with people I coach. And I think it's a good friend of mine, Deanna, who says that our weaknesses are an opportunity for other people to use their strengths.
Yeah.
And I love this because we all have weaknesses as well as strengths, and so we need to partner, we need to harness with other people who have those strengths. And I forgot to mention one other quick thing about this experience of dog sledding. Jeremy looked at us and he said, Brent, put your dogs in a row and be the CEO. And when he said that to me, I thought, no, put your strengths in a row and be the CEO. And I really believe that when we put our strengths and harness our strengths together in a row and direct our strengths intentionally, as the Chief Executive Officer, we're responsible for directing and setting our strengths in our goals with our personal and business life. And so that's what I like to help coaches do with marketing. And I was hoping we might share 2 quick ideas for coaches to market their business, looking at these 4 domains as your marketing style.
Yeah,
if we could maybe quickly go through that.
Yeah, I'd love to hear you talk about that, because again, many of the listeners out there are people who maybe have worked for years in business, love strengths, maybe did it within their organization. I know there's a lot of consultants, coaches. I know there've been a lot that have gone through Gallup training, but a lot of others who are just kind of coming alongside of Gallup or are new to Gallup. And with your success to your business, I know you mentioned at the start of the call, that's part of what you do is coach coaches. And even you're daring to be great. I think you're daring greatly and double your income is a goal that you have for coaches out there. So
Absolutely.
I'm sure saying that there's people going, okay, tell me more. And marketing is half the battle. So talk a little bit about that. What's been your strategy for leveraging those 4 domains for marketing?
Yeah, interesting. I don't even see it as a battle. I see it as a thrill.
Yeah, there you go.
But of course, that's the 7 influencing. But if I was just to quickly give 2 ideas, marketing strategies for coaches to grow their business using these 4 domains. Now remember this, these strategies you could be not in one particular domain and still implement this strategy, okay? Yep. But first of all, for those in the executing domain, I like to think of arranger as a great theme. And in fact, I have a buddy, and he'll be on Call to Coach here in the next couple of weeks, Brandon, and Brandon and I have encouraged coaches to arrange a meetup.
Hmm.
A meetup in a local local place, like here in Austin, we have one in Dallas, we have one in Oklahoma City, and one of our coaches now in Singapore has got a meetup in Singapore. So this is a way to kind of be the leader and a voice. It doesn't mean you have to do everything yourself. You get a team together. So just go to meetup.com and you'll actually learn how to create a website and that's part of the greatness of this is it gives you an online presence and it helps spread the word about StrengthsFinder in your local community. So that's the first tip.
Great.
Here's the second. The second for those in the executing domain is I think it is important to achieve certifications. So I am going to encourage a lot of coaches that I coach. I tell them, if you can get the money and you got the time, I said absolutely go to Gallup and get your certification. And I mean, one of the things I think is awesome with Gallup now is you are allowing the coaches, certified coaches, to be online and on the coaching directory.
Yep.
And so this is something that not only gives you more tools in your toolbox, but it actually helps differentiate you. So whether it's Gallup or other certifications, those are two things that the executing domain would really be wise to do.
That's great.
Now here's two for the strategic thinking domain. So number one, I'm going to say people who are great at ideas and intellection, and maybe they're even introverted.
Mm-hmm.
These are the people that sometimes are great writers. And I know several people who use their input to be able to gather resources and gather information and use that information in a way that you can write articles, you can write blogs, you can write books. And I don't understand why more people aren't doing this. The very first book I ever wrote, I've written 4 now, which is hard to believe. The very first one I ever wrote, I was writing my email newsletter over like 3 or 4 years. And so I took all this stories and all this information, compiled it into a manuscript, hired an editor to help me kind of clean it up, and voila, that was my very first book.
Yeah.
Here's the fourth idea. And that is to people who are great at strategic thinking need to automate their technology. And I mean, you need to have a great website.
Mm-hmm.
I'm amazed, seriously, when I look at some coaches' websites, I'm like, really? I mean, this is like a representation of who you are. Yep. And what you think and what you believe. And Gallup has really done well to increase its market presence through the technology. And so learning how to, have a shopping cart where you can sell products, learning how to have better autoresponders, learning how to have better search engine optimization, to automate things where people, your clients, can, instead of going back and forth on the phone, they can actually look at your calendar and automatically, set up that appointment with you. Those are ways that you can market yourself and make yourself more effective as a coach.
Those are great. Yeah.
Now, the influencing domain, there are 2 quick ideas. This is number 5 and number 6.
And these are ideas, or these are just best practices for what you've done?
Marketing strategies. What'd you say?
I said, are these ideas or just what you've done since you're lead the charge with influencing? So.
I would say I have done all of these, and either myself or I have delegated to certain people to help me with.
That's great.
But number 5 is public speaking, and I really believe public speaking for these people who love to be on stage, who love to talk, who love to tell stories. Man, there are so many opportunities. I'll never forget, about 3 years ago, I was invited to speak for free to an organization in Dallas, and I was kind of hesitant. I've been doing this a while, and I usually get paid pretty well to go speak, but I decided to go, and it was for a youth organization, and so I spoke, and afterwards this Asian lady came up to me, and she says, you want to come to China and speak for us? I said, excuse me? You come to China and speak for us? I was like, well, yeah, sure. So we started talking, and literally within 3 months, her organization, actually her dad is a major professor in psychology in Beijing University and in China, and they invited and paid my wife and I to go to China, Beijing, for 10 days and teach other counselors and entrepreneurs, and all of that happened because I spoke at a free event. And so you never know what will happen when you're out there public speaking.
That's great.
Number 6, and these are for the influencing folks, is do expert interviews. So look for opportunities in your local market. Go to the newspaper, hardly any newspapers anymore, but go to online magazines. Go to your television station and let them know what areas you are an expert in. And many times they will want to interview you, and you'll get free coverage. In a bigger market, you're not getting paid for it, but you are getting free publicity. And so, just like we're doing right here. I mean, obviously, I'm sharing of my experience. I'm not getting paid for this, but the video will be there. And so I want to encourage coaches to think, strategically how to influence in that way. And then quickly, the last 2 things. Those people that are very dominant in relationship building, those are powerful marketing talent teams. So please do not underestimate them. And number 7 strategy is learn to volunteer on certain boards. I can think of Doug, who is a Gallup-Certified Coach, by the way, and he and I meet together frequently, and his business as a strengths coach has all come through referrals because he volunteered on a local community board. And because he gave of his time, his heart, he built deep relationships. Now all of these companies are coming to him and hiring him and paying him well. So remember to volunteer as a board on strategic boards that would be in your niche market. And then finally, number 8 is I really believe in the power of handwritten thank you cards. It's, in this electronic age, we're hungry for real human contact, real human connection. And I'll never forget one of my clients, one of my best clients, financial advisor in the top 100 and the Barron's 100 as a female. She gave a presentation online. And so I watched that presentation, and as she shared on the presentation, she made a comment. She said, "I love to receive handwritten notes." And my individualization, my relationship strength talent theme said, I'm going to write her a very thoughtful, genuine note about what I thought about her talk. And I did. And she hired me for about 3 years. So those are 8 quick ideas. There are so many more we could help you with, but those are quick 8 ideas. So I hope that's helpful.
No, I love it. I love that you've again kind of attached it to those domains. I think that's going to be helpful for people. I know already there's requests, and people will want more to have you create a little blog post on that too, that we can kind of capture those 8 and share best practices. But no, those are great. Hey, one quick question that came up. There's a couple that have been coming in here through the chat. One was in regards to your dog photos. People love the analogy. We're inspired by it. Can they share those referencing back to you? Can they use those pictures, not inserting their own name as the person on the sled, but letting them know it's your story?
I'm all about sharing the love, sharing our intellectual knowledge. And so, yes, I've had several people actually email me and contact me and say, "Brent, do you mind if I share, some of your concepts?" As long as you, give credit where credit is due, I think that's fine. So I really appreciate that you would even share that information with other people. You bet.
Yep. Great. So one other question that came up, and I'm sure you've seen some of these sites out there. You mentioned StrengthsFinder. Obviously, that's a commonality to the coaches we have on, is they've found that Gallup's tools, specifically the Clifton StrengthsFinder, useful for coaching. There are websites out there, kind of freestrengths.com, other stuff where people kind of are impersonating, if you will, the StrengthsFinder. There's obviously Myers-Briggs, a lot of other instruments out there. What's your take or approach, for that, or how would you encourage people to utilize those or avoid those? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I've been aware of that. I've had a couple of people even say something to me that, there's people out there that are infringing on intellectual property, and I think that's wrong. It's against the law, to steal someone else's other intellectual property. So you've got to give credit, and you've got to have permission, and many times written permission. So, yeah, I would just steer people away. Also the science and the research behind other people kind of dissecting and trying to create their own material from the Gallup research, I don't think it's going to be as reliable and valid from a statistical, psychological aspect. So I would caution people, you need to go to the father of the science.
Yeah. And obviously working for Gallup myself for the last 8 years, Maximizer is my top theme. So I'm always drawn to what's the best, what's the greatest. If I knew there was something better out there, even though I work for Gallup, I would encourage people to use it alongside of Strengths. But it's such a powerful tool. And I mentioned at the start of the call, just coming out of that coaching course with Kurt Leesveld, where we had the chance to train 30 individuals in Japan. We don't speak their language. They don't speak our language, and so we had translators in the room. But when we would hear, communication or maximizer or relator, there was just a commonality, and you could see these people come alive. And when we talked about it, it was like we knew each other. And so there is something that this tool, that again Don Clifton's, had really helped put the research in behind it. We now have almost 10 million people that have taken it. There's something about it that's powerful, and I think, like you said, if you're in the business of helping people and helping their businesses, it can be a pretty powerful tool to do that. So,
and Jeremy, one last thing that I was going to mention, piggybacking on what you just said, is kind of the first part of the Strengths Revolution is about the StrengthsFinder and identifying our talent themes. I really see the second revolution of the Strengths movement is about application. Yeah. How do we take these talents and these themes, and how do we point it and apply it in different domains of life? And talk about that a little bit, because guest 603 actually asked that question. They said, so I discovered my top 5. What's next? How do I apply the information? I think I'm going to piggyback on what Gallup is saying, and that is everyone needs a coach. Everyone needs a coach. If you want to be a coach and be paid to coach other people, I ask coaches, have you invested in getting coaching for yourself? If you haven't, you need to. Yeah. Because how can you authentically coach and help other people if you haven't actually paid and invested into your own development? And so whether you are a professional coach that wants to grow a business, get coaching. But also if you're in an organization, organizations are hungry to apply strengths. And I think we're on the kind of the cutting edge. And of course my mentor, Kurt Leesveld, is, we all talk about him, but he's applying the strengths to parenting and to relationships. And he and I are actually talking about how can we apply the 34 talents to coaching. Through how do you use your talent as a filter of how you coach your clients with those 34 themes. No,
that's great. Let me throw a couple kind of what's next out for the group. Brent, we'll end the live portion of the call, but we'll invite people to stick around for the post show. There's a few other questions that have come up. As Brent mentioned earlier, we will have another call coming up here in the next 2 weeks. We again kind of continue that twice a month cadence. Brandon Miller, who he kind of alluded to, is a CEO of an organization called 34 Strong. Brandon, along with Brent, was one of the first Gallup-Certified coaches. He's been doing this himself for over 10 years using Strengths, but was just certified this last year through Gallup. So exciting story to share as well about starting a business, using it, how Strengths really transformed even the way he built his team. And we'll have a lot to share. He'll be joining us from California, so we're excited to have him on in 2 weeks. And again, kind of just more excitement and insight for you all as coaches. The one thing too, this question comes up a lot, and you alluded to it, of kind of going through some training with Kurt Leesveld. we do offer coach certification. So again, Gallup-CertifiedStrengths is a great place to check that out. If you have want information, there's anything from a kit you can buy that can give you insight for yourself or your organization on coaching, or you can sign up for one of 3 different 2-day courses or a 5-day intensive course. We also just launched a brand new course. I know there's many people out there who are managers and want to just figure out, would this apply to me as a manager or as a leader of an organization. We just launched last month a new program called High Performance Management. There is a kit you can buy online for that as well. But that course is brand new, integrates strengths and our engagement research to really help organizations and leaders drive performance. So again, a lot of resources out there at Gallup-CertifiedStrengths. If you have questions after the call, again, you can send those to coaching@gallup.com. I mentioned that I want to see Brent put his eight thoughts or ideas into a blog post, but if you want to be a guest blogger, you can reach out to us at that coaching@gallup.com site as well. We'd love to hear your thoughts, ideas. And again, you can always catch the recorded audio video of the show. If for some reason you logged out partway through, you can catch those as well as any past shows from our Facebook link as well as our YouTube page, again, over at coaching.gallup.com. So want to thank everybody for joining us live. Again, we're going to stick around here for post-show. Brent, we have got a couple other questions for you, but want to thank you for joining us today. Again, all the great stuff you're doing to just kind of help people around the world discover their strengths. So thanks.
Yeah, it's a joy to be a partner with Gallup and other strengths enthusiasts.